Right-wing media is completely unraveling behind the scenes, and tonight we are bringing you the receipts. Welcome back to the Defiant Weekly. I'm Majid Padellan, aka BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Today we are blowing the lid off of the absolute desperation holding the conservative grift machine together. Turning Point USA claims to be a massive grassroots powerhouse with over 3,300 chapters nationwide. But our guest tonight went out into the field, did a real investigation, and exposed a hollow shell of fake data, inflated numbers, and a massive fraud designed to trick donors under Erika Kirk's leadership. But it gets worse for the right-wing echo chamber. While TPUSA is allegedly faking their chapters, Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire just suffered a catastrophic humiliation after hiring an internet wonderkind who accidentally leaked his own chat logs, proving that he uses, ChatGPT or Grok to script his political arguments. Joining me to break down all of this breaking chaos is the powerhouse founder of National Ground Game and Soul Strategies, the woman. Hang on, let me just get this up on the screen here. No, that's not working. Let's do this. No, that's her. Sorry. Let's see. And it's Zee Cohen-Sanchez herself. So I hope you ready to get into a bunch of stuff because I am. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes. Zee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was a great intro.
Oh, thank you. So we were chatting, you guys, before the show started, and Zee was introduced to me by one of my friends who you've seen on this show quite often, Brian Shapiro, who does Pushing the Limits. He does that daily show. And the funny thing is that I didn't know that he was connected with Zee, and I found her stuff on Twitter. Actually, if you're not checking out Zee Cohen-Sanchez's Twitter feed, what are you doing with your life, right? I saw her stuff, and then I was like, Brian, can you introduce me? Because I saw a video of her and Brian basically outside the Turning Point USA headquarters, like, hey, get out here, you bitches.
That's pretty much how it went, yeah.
What exactly was that whole scenario all about? Did you guys really go there with the intent to like debate them?
Well, it's interesting because we were actually going there because we have a very active chapter at ASU. And so we had a planned tour stop at ASU for that day. And then 2 days before, Erika Kirk basically was complaining about us. Our event got canceled by the school. We got FIRE involved, which are the freedom of speech activist group. And essentially they said that, there was nothing they could do immediately. Obviously we could sue, we can do other things down the line. And so we were like, hey, well, we're already here in Arizona. So what can we do? Let's go to them and ask why they got our event canceled. And honestly, we did not expect them to come out. That was definitely a total curveball.
And what were they like in person? Were they, belligerent and like?
No, I mean, listen, all these people are nice in person, right? Like all these Republicans. I mean, I don't think I've ever, I will actually say this, except for Cam Higbee. I will give Cam Higbee credit that out of all the Republicans I've ever met, he literally looked at me and he was like, you're a cunt. But every other Republican that I've ever met in person are usually, very cordial and nice, but then behind the scenes, they're totally.
Why do you give him credit for saying that nasty thing to you?
Well, I think
He was keeping it real.
I think that it says something that he doesn't like hide what he believes, right? Like these guys are all like super nice to, like Andrew Colvett and, Jack Posobiec. And I mean, all these people who are, election deniers, like have done horrible things for this country. But then, they want to pretend like they're going to have a cordial conversation and we're all friends and let's shake hands. And, oh, of course I'll debate you. And then they never show up.
All talk, no debate, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So I want to get into the meat and potatoes of your appearance here on the show. And I have to say, fantastic, absolutely fantastic work on your documentary. Absolutely fascinating. I have a clip that I'd like to share with the audience, just so that before we dig into this, do you mind if I share that with them?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Great. Let's put that up here.
I was handed 12 chapters and only 7 of them were actually real. The other 5, I found out, the previous field reps' family members had pretended to open up a chapter so that they could claim those chapters on campuses, and then the rest were legitimately fake contact information, bounced back, texts bounced, calls failed. Nobody is actually verifying the students' identities.
Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us, this is the Defiant Weekly. Please make sure you hit the subscribe and like buttons, and let's jump right on into this thing here. That was the intro to your documentary, which was riveting, to say the least. Are we calling this Inside Turning Point USA's Ghost Chapters?
Yeah, so Inside Turning Point USA, this is going to be like a several long part series. This is just scratching the surface. I mean, what's to come is it gets worse and worse until we get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, which I hope that we live to tell the tale if we do ever get to the bottom of the rabbit hole.
So you and your team at Soul Strategies have been doing real boots on the ground investigative work. When you dug into TPUSA's claim of having 3,300 plus active chapters, what was the exact moment you realized that the data was completely fabricated?
So Soul Strategies, I've been working on campaigns now with my team at Soul Strategies for 6 years. We started in 2020. And because we've worked on so many campaigns, like we're very aware of what it takes to start a field program, what it takes to make college chapters. And so when we started National Ground Game at the end of 2024, which is our PAC that sponsors the Unfuck America Tour and goes to college campuses, there were so many red flags along the way of, is really like the main question being, is Turning Point as big and as powerful as they say they are? When Charlie Kirk was alive, that was a little bit more difficult to come across, like that real answer to that question, right? Because I think that Charlie did a really good job of, we don't know if Charlie really knew, right? Like how much of this, we don't know how much Charlie knew about his own organization, because as we've sort of gotten deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, what we found was that Charlie was very much protected from a lot of information in the organization, including like some misspending that was happening. We've heard from several current and former staffers of Turning Point that it was the staff's job to keep Charlie fed, happy, and away from like any crazy PR stuff that was happening, right? So how much Charlie knew about it, I don't know, and obviously we'll never find out. He's not here to tell us, but right. I do think that that it was much harder because the staff was more cautious of what Charlie would eventually find out, right? And so once Charlie was not here, as we sort of went from college campus to college campus, we were noticing that, one, when there were events happening, they were usually very small, right? And two, that there just wasn't that like participation, I guess, like on campuses that you would expect, especially at a large place. Like ASU is meant to be their largest chapter, right? This was Charlie's first chapter that he ever launched.
Is that Arizona?
Yeah, in Arizona. Okay. And just like very little presence. And so the first thing we did with Club America specifically, and if your audience doesn't know, Club America is part of Turning Point, but technically separate because it is their high school chapters only. So the college chapters, there may be some more truth to those numbers, although I do think a lot of them are ridiculously inflated, as we found out. But the high school ones were a lot more interesting because we started to notice on the map that there were these high school chapters in these really tiny little towns. One of them in Nevada, where I live and Brian lives. And it's like, it's such a small town that they had on the map that I was like, I don't even think this school even has clubs. Like, it's that small. And so I called the school and they were like, not only do we not have a Turning Point chapter, but we don't have any chapters here. We don't do clubs. And so that was like our first, like, okay, this is something that like actually needs to be investigated.
Wow. So let me just ask you this. Why? What is the point of pretending? Like, how do they benefit by having, 3,300 versus, let's say, maybe first of all, do you know what their real number is? Have you gotten down to that nitty gritty yet? And why? Why pretend like you're bigger than you are?
So we investigated 77 schools altogether. And from that, we only found that about 10% of them were actually real active chapters on campus. The other part of this is that it's hard to get to the bottom of the real number because some of these chapters are in existence, but it's like, for example, they get a gift card and then like a family member opens the chapter, right? Or something to that effect, which I mean, to you and me would not be a real chapter, right? Like to you and me, a real chapter means they are high school students, they go to the school, they are meeting once a week or once a month or whatever it is. How many of those actually exist? My guess is probably somewhere around 10% of what they're claiming.
Okay, so you talked about the gift cards. I did see a part during your documentary where you talked about the whole gift card thing and where kids, if you're giving out free gift cards, yes, sign me up too. I'm not in high school, but I'll take one. But you want me to say that there's a chapter here? No problemo. And then I'm going to go play some Fortnite. But something else I found it was also very interesting was that you focused on like one high school that looks like it's no longer a high school. Either it's under renovation or it's just completely gutted. It was like, there's no roof and, it was like this thing had been closed for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you called up. Tell me what your method was here with that particular instance.
So what we did was that once we found that first school in Nevada that was like, we don't even have clubs here. That's when our interns, like we started having them investigate. So that's when we started calling all 77 schools. And we found that, as I said, most of them were inactive, never existed even to begin with. And then only about like 10% of them were actually real. So we wanted to test this theory in real time because we were like, okay, well, what is Turning Point's response going to be to this, right? They're going to say something like, oh, they're just a bunch of libs. They don't know what they're talking about. I mean, they could, come up with anything like that. So we were like, well, the best thing that we can do is start our own chapter. Like, what if a group of people in their 30s decide to just start a chapter on their own? Could we even get that through? And to be honest, we did not think we'd be able to get that through because we were like, we create chapters. We know what it takes. Before you even start registering like paperwork at the school, one of our liaison has to meet with you, see you on camera, like go through the whole steps, right? It was way easier than what we thought. It literally took us, less than a week to do it. What we did was we just picked a random school in Georgia. JJ, who is actually, he's a big part of behind the documentary, who's been creating it with us. He lives in Atlanta. So we just picked like a school that was close by to him, that had been closed since 2006. And we registered it. We got a text message from the organizer saying, you're an official chapter. And then less than a week later, we popped up as a little pin on the map.
And it was that easy.
It was that easy. Honestly, as I said, we thought that it was going to be much, much harder than that. So after we got that information, it was very clear to us that this was about Turning Point purposely inflating the numbers. So before that, it could be a mistake, right? You could blame it on staff. You could say, oh yeah, we just had a bad staffer that was registering fake chapters or whatever, right? Like you could come up with something, but it's really hard to blame it on your whole staff when you could just create a chapter like that.
Now they say follow the money, right? Anytime some kind of fraud is going down, the important thing to do is follow the money. And you mentioned that they're giving out gift cards, right? So somebody is funding this organization, like when they have all of their. For folks, if you're unaware, Turning Point USA, they go around to colleges around the nation and they try to reach out. Charlie Kirk, he would when he was doing it, he would make this thing like. He would really pretend to be debating people in good faith. He wasn't, but that's neither here nor there. He would pick on kids who like didn't have debating experience and were nervous and then those were the ones that he would take and put into his clips and promote. Look what I'm doing, free speech, but that's not what it was. They're basically just trying to build themselves, and correct me if I'm wrong, a little army of miniature Charlie Kirks, that were conservative and pretending like, they believe in free speech when really they're just controlling the framing of the debate.
Yeah.
So is the whole purpose of faking the size of this organization so that they can get more money? And if so, isn't that like serious fraud, like Department of Justice level type fraud?
Well, so the reason I think that there's a couple reasons why they're inflating the numbers. That's a big part of it, right? Is like they need, obviously, if donors are giving money, this is a non-for-profit organization, the money goes in, the money also has to come out. We've heard stories of, beyond reckless spending that's going to be coming up in the next parts to follow this documentary Inside Turning Point. That's honestly just like unbelievable. Just like completely, very clearly just getting rid of as much money as they can so that it can keep flowing, the organization can keep going. But in terms of like why, I think that part of it was that, right? Inflating the numbers for the donors and for all of those things. I also think that like Charlie wanted those. I think Charlie's idea of success, from what we've heard from people that knew Charlie well, was that he needed everything to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So for example, if they have an event at AmFest one year, it's 2025, they have the AmFest event, there's 20,000 people that show up. The next year, Charlie wants 40,000. The next year, he wants 60,000. And he's never satisfied until those numbers are growing and growing. And so eventually, obviously, there's like there's a cap on everything, right? Like you can't always continue growing at that speed. Anyone that's run an organization knows that. It's not even possible. But I think for Charlie, like he equated that with success so much that his staff felt like they had to do that, right? So I don't know how much of it was like purposeful in the sense of like frauding versus, I think that the people at the top are the people that are absolutely, allegedly fraud there, right? And I do actually, I absolutely think that when Democrats are back in charge, there needs to be, this needs to be brought to the House Oversight Committee, 100%. I can't believe it hasn't been brought forward already. I can't believe Democrats have not been looking into an organization that is making, like 5 to 6 times more than any other organization on the left or the right. Is really unbelievable to me, to be honest.
That's key. That is a huge point right there. And yeah, every chance I get, I will make sure that I bang that drum too. So you mentioned earlier that Charlie Kirk was kind of kept insulated, and I'm assuming that that's so that he has plausible deniability, about when any of shenanigans or whatever. Do you believe that Erika Kirk is being given that same insulation, or do you think she's more hands-on? And is there any way to find out?
I think that there are ways to find out through current and former staff, but I don't think that I think that Charlie was different. I don't think that Erika necessarily, and this is just an opinion, obviously, but I don't think that Erika really cares about like the successive turning point in the way that Charlie did, right? Like this was Charlie's baby, obviously. Like this organization he built from the ground up, starting in 2012 up until his death. So I think for Charlie, it was more about like his own personal success and the success of his organization. I think for Erika, I mean, my guess is probably that she still wants the organization obviously to continue because she needs the money for it to continue, right? But I don't think that it's like oh, well, if we don't have 10 times more people at the next event, it's not success. I'm not sure that Erika would be like seeing it in that same way.
Because that was more Charlie's obsession, the whole growth thing.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
So if the chapters aren't real, where is that massive, donor money actually going?
That's a great question because I mean, Turning Point over at least the last couple years has always been like $100 million a year organization. They haven't filed, as far as I know, for this past year, but obviously with Charlie Kirk's death, it's more estimated to be around $300 million a year. So we're talking about, I mean, this is like an excessive. I mean, this is an excessive amount of money. People are always asking, like, why do you target Turning Point? Like, why Turning Point? Well, if you think about it, like, there is like Turning Point has become the RNC. The RNC doesn't have pull like Turning Point. There's no organization that has pull like Turning Point has. I mean, they're worried about George Soros. Like Soros is not donating nearly as much money as Turning Point has, like overall to Democrats, right? So I just think like it's almost naive to me that Democrats have let this go for so long. I mean, we were the first people in April of 2025 before Charlie died, so a little over a year ago, that was like, we can't just keep allowing Charlie Kirk to go to college campus with his crowds growing so big. I mean, to the point where it was like, anytime Charlie went on a college campus, he's got 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people showing up. That's crazy to not push back on. I don't understand.
Yeah, you know what you're saying. I agree with you so much. I feel like in a lot of ways, the Democratic Party has kind of been asleep at the wheel, and that is why I am grateful for organizations like yours. And now I can safely say Unfuck America, because we're past that YouTube barrier where they're like, if you say it in the first 10 minutes, we're going to kill you. So what made you, what got you involved in, I guess I would call this grassroots politics. What got you involved in this?
Well, I've been working in politics since 2010. So I've been working in politics for some time, but, and really it was for me, this is like, the people watching this, you probably have like a younger crowd, but this was during like Occupy Wall Street, right? So I don't know if many people like even remember Occupy Wall Street, but that was really like the beginning, right? Of the, mean, you're a New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
But it was, I think like now in history, like as we like look back on it, I don't think Occupy gets as much attention as it should, because at the time it was huge, right? Like that was the like beginning. I think really it was kind of the beginning of like almost like the DSA movement of all these new candidates coming in. And I actually remember going to like a super early DSA meet, like 2012, 2013, like around that time, and thinking like, wow, this is like we could potentially like get out incumbents. And then eventually I ended up on AOC's campaign in 2018 when we beat out Crowley. And then eventually ended up on helping with Mamdani's website and some stuff for his team. And then, all of these other candidates that came later. So yeah, I mean, that's really what got me into it. But I think like in terms of like the direction of being more aggressive, which I think like that's sort of like a new, like last 2 years thing, that I think like it needs to be less about like, okay, we need to get these people into office. Yes, of course we need to do that. But like, we also have to like dig into these people in the same way that they've dug into Democrats for so many years.
All right. I don't want to veer too far off track. There's like a bunch of other things that I wanted to talk to you about. Some are related to the Turning Point USA. Others, it's the overall theme of what's happening on the right wing. Like there's desperation over there, and it's not just at TPUSA. you recently amplified an unbelievable story about Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire hiring a 19-year-old influencer named Matt Nuclear to fight their internet battles. And then he immediately, like, I guess, doxed his own history, showing, that he talks to Grok the way one would talk to a girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah, or boyfriend,
What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, so my team actually, I'll give credit to like my chief of staff here, actually found his Grok history. So we were actually like the original folks that like found that and leaked it. And again, this guy, I mean, so I actually like know Matt from like Jubilee and from like various other things. And, I mean, I know that like the Daily Wire is really struggling right now. And I mean, that's their own fault as far as I'm concerned. But like, I just think that a lot of these people have, as I said, have just gotten away with so much against Democrats, right? Like anytime, like the way that they hammer Democrats all day, every day. And then all of a sudden, like we do one thing, which by the way, as you said, he doxed himself, right? Like we didn't even, we just found the information, but I mean, he doxed himself. And again, there's always this like, oh, well, that's wrong. He's 19. Oh, and it's like, well, I don't think it's wrong when, again, they've been doing this to Democrats for years with nobody ever pushing back against them. And I really just think that we need more, not just like folks like us, but like elected officials that get behind doing this stuff too.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because, what you said about how they keep hitting us and hitting us and hitting us. And finally, when we hit back, they're like, how dare you?
I know, right?
I must clutch. What do you think it says about the intellectual depth of the modern conservative movement when their brightest new stars are basically just plagiarizing AI bots?
Well, listen, I mean, here's what I'm like. Obviously, I hate that Charlie Kirk is like not here anymore, just because I think that it makes the country a worse off place in terms of, I don't like what Charlie Kirk stood for, but I think it's a very dangerous precedent to just say that you can just kill anybody you disagree with on a college campus. Like, I don't want to live in a country like that. Right. But what I will say, the result that's come out of it is that without Charlie Kirk, they don't have an operative and they don't have a face anymore. And not just Turning Point, the whole conservative movement. And so you could see this like in Daily Wire, right? They laid off half their staff. They're desperately looking for investors right now. And a big part of getting investors is that you need new talent. And they are struggling so deeply with finding new talent that they're putting on kids like Matt Nuclear. Like, this just shows you that this is actually a good thing, I think, for Democrats right now, if we take advantage of this moment, right? Which I'm always skeptical of if we will, right? Because it's like, I feel like we always get this like, okay, we're in this great moment, like, let's do it, let's go for it. And then everybody's like, oh, we need to be nice to everybody. But I feel like if Democrats like actually take this moment and ride into the midterms with this, and we find new talent and we put up really good new talent and we crush their talent, I think that like we will come out victorious.
Yes, I agree with you. And I wanted to ask you if has anyone at the DNC or the DCCC or whatever those initials are, have any of them reached out to you or your organization to say, how can we help build you up, or how can you guys help us? How can, has any conversations like that happened?
No, unfortunately not. We were actually on CNN a year ago during the when Charlie was right before Charlie died, and it went like very viral at the time. And CNN had actually asked me that question. They said, has Ken Martin reached out? Has anybody at the DNC reached out? And I said, no, but if you're watching this, text me back. And I had texted Ken at that time asking if we could partner, and I didn't hear back from him. And then I continued to reach out to him and his staff, never heard anything. And then I made a video about him a couple months ago that was somewhat critical, not even that critical, but somewhat critical. And he did DM me on Twitter saying essentially that he didn't love that, but he wants to meet. And then that never turned out into anything. So I'm very skeptical of the DNC wanting to have this approach under Ken Martin's leadership.
It's interesting because a lot of people are critical of the DNC. They feel like the DNC is kind of dropping the ball and mismanaging. And I'm not going to get into all their dirty laundry, but if they were to reach out to you, would you be interested in being included in conversations, or would you rather, at Unfuck America and National Ground Game be able to be free and do what you guys do the way you want to do it without having to water anything down or check permission, or you know what I mean?
Well,
is
we're
that
not
something
willing,
that you're interested in?
Well, we're not willing to water anything down, but I think that this moment calls for the DNC calling us and saying, hey, we see that you're going viral. Hey, we see that you're taking down like certain figures on the right. We want to be part of that, and let's change direction to be part of that. Because right now, I think it is so important that all the Democrats come together. I'm a big believer in that. I'm not an anti-party person. I am a party person. I've told people publicly, I've taken money from the DCCC. I've done contracts with the DCCC. A lot of people that are on the ballot is because my firm did that with money from the Democratic Party. And I have a lot of respect for the party leaders, for elected officials in the Democratic Party. But I think that it is absolutely time that we follow the direction that the people want. There's only so much you can fight back against what the people want. And the people have made it very clear that they want aggressive leaders that are willing to fight back against Republicans in a real way. It seems, have made it your mantle, your cross to bear, that you are taking them on, and I just love it. You're like the David to their Goliath. Do you mind? I have another clip of one of your tweets. Do you mind if I play? This is the Turning Point USA lineup clip. Yeah, the lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Erika Kirk woke up this morning and decided she wasn't done ruining her husband's legacy. So let's talk about it. If this is the first time you're seeing me, I run the largest counter organization to Turning Point on the left, and in the next few weeks, we're going to be dropping some serious receipts on Turning Point that I don't want you to miss. So please go ahead and hit that follow button. Okay, really quick to catch you up. Yesterday, Turning Point hosted the Pick Up the Mic Summit. And because we have multiple moles inside Turning Point, they let us know that Erika Kirk was telling everybody that she doesn't want the Unfuck America Tour to embarrass them on college campuses this fall. Well, let me just show you their lineup. Welcome to the all-star lineup of the Turning Point Rejects Tour. We're going to launch with Emma Dayton. What are her qualifications? I don't know. She has 3.5K followers, though, and she loves Taylor Swift. Followed up by Maya Goodmanson, 1.5K followers. Qualifications, we don't know, but she's a follower of Christ from Nashville, Tennessee, so that's good enough. They upgraded here with Kennedy Wetzel, who's got 11.5K followers. Qualifications, she was the junior Miss America High School of 2017. But of any all-star team, you need a leader, somebody that's really going to be fighting for the cause, somebody that's going to be leading these women into the fight in the arena for 2028. And who is that? None other than Andrew Wilson, somebody that couldn't even get into a Turning Point event because allegedly Charlie Kirk hated him that much. To be honest, I'm actually really glad this relationship was repaired because I was tired of Andrew Wilson reaching out to me for Turning Point tickets. Well, it's going to be a real embarrassing fall tour for Turning Point, and I hope that they're ready because we're launching the Unfuck America Tour on college campuses in swing states on September 21st, and we're going to be starting with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And as always, remember to follow me to Unfuck America.
Bravo. That was hilarious. A few things. Multiple moles. You have moles in TPUSA?
Oh, deep moles. Deep. Yeah. And, it's crazy because I think that leadership at first thought that we were just like bluffing with that until we like got their personal phone numbers through leaked text messages from some of their higher up moles. So what I will say about this is that there are a lot of people in Turning Point that hate Turning Point. So if that gives anybody hope for the future, just know that there are a lot of people there that do not like them and want to see them taken down.
Interesting. I also thought it was interesting. Earlier, you had said that you were sorry that Charlie Kirk wasn't here anymore. I forget the reason you gave, but because I saw a tweet on your feed where it said you're sorry that Charlie Kirk isn't here anymore because now we have to learn how awful Erika Kirk is.
Well, that's part of it. That is definitely part of it.
Have you got any backlash because you have been so vocal? Have you gotten any threats or anybody being overly mean or disrespectful or threatening to you?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, but I think like it's really it's interesting because I feel like we're always fighting all sides. Like we're fighting the far left, we're fighting the grapers, we're fighting MAGA. So eventually it feels like you're just like there's so many attacks for so many different reasons, right? Like the grapers hate me because I'm a Jew. The MAGA hates us because we're taking down like their people, right? The leftists hate us because we're not far left enough. But I think like ultimately what matters is that we're winning elections. Like that's what actually matters. And so if we're contributing to winning elections and if we see our job as shifting the youth vote back to the Democrats because it should have never been with the Republicans even to begin with, then I think we've done our job. So we don't care. I mean, if people want to threaten, if they want whatever, Charlie Kirk probably got threats all day, every day, and he still kept going and he still built Turning Point.
Interesting. Very interesting. Also interesting that you said far left, which that kind of surprises me because unless my research was incorrect, I believe you also were a fan of Bernie Sanders, right? You were a supporter of Bernie. And last I checked, he's considered, well, maybe he's not far left anymore, huh? I don't know. I mean,
it's complicated. I think like sometimes on the far left, they're just totally anti-electoral, right? So like they hate Bernie Sanders. But I also think like I definitely get definitely some hate from like the DSA folks, which is interesting because I was always a DSA dues paying member, was one of the original organizers in the New York DSA. Like I consider myself to be like a pretty far left person. I mean, I'm not like so far left that I'm like Hassan far left, but I definitely would. I mean, I'm for Medicare for all. I'm for college for all. I mean, every platform that you would consider far left, I would support.
I don't know if you've seen any of they've had like these Fox News, on Fox News, they'll run like a running list of all the things that the Democratic socialists are in favor of. And look at them. They want free college and free healthcare. Like they're saying it like you're asking for a hand grenade in every child's hand,
It's ridiculous. I mean, and the funny thing about this too is I think like some of these people are so deranged, like on the Mamdani stuff, but like New York City, I mean, is like has a lot of these things already. Like CUNY, right? Like you can go to CUNY, you can go to SUNY. It's free. You can, like healthcare. I think at least when I lived there, like if you made under $60K a year, it was basically free healthcare. I mean, there's like we have like universal pre-K now, like, and the city's not burning. Like everything is still fine, and it has been for many years.
Yeah, well, SUNYs, just so you know, are not free. All three of my sons went, and I definitely did have to pay. But with that said, it's nowhere near as backbreaking as like some private or Ivy League colleges. Like, if not for SUNYs, I would have had difficulty putting my sons through college. So
yeah, how much is it now for SUNY school?
Well, my youngest son graduated from college in 2016, I think. So I don't know what it is now, but it's probably around maybe 10,000.
Like 10,000 a year, right? Yeah. So that, I mean, a lot, at least a lot less than what I paid for college for sure.
Yeah. What else? Hang on a second. Oh yeah. So I had this here. I found, to contribute a little bit more to the chaos over there, you had uncovered some tweets about Andrew Wilson shit-talking Erika Kirk. What's that all about?
Yeah, so Andrew, I guess, has been hired as their conspiracy liaison, which is, I can't even like say that with a straight face. It's so absurd. If people don't know who Andrew Wilson is, I mean, this guy is like a total misogynist piece of shit. I mean, doesn't, I've like organized debates with him. He just wants to like circle jerk about definitions all day. He never actually wants to debate anyone. And like people think he's a joke, honestly, like on the left and the right, people think he's a joke. And Charlie wouldn't even let Andrew into Turning Point events. Like, I mean, he couldn't get into AmFest this year. And so like seeing that they hired him in a paid position at Turning Point, you know, again, I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk, but that's disrespectful to a dead guy, in my opinion. And yeah, Andrew, I mean, has openly hated Charlie Kirk like for years. And so, and even I know that, right? And I'm not part of Turning Point. So the fact that like the leadership didn't even like look into any of these things, offering him a paid position, his last tweet about Erika Kirk saying that she can't lead because she's a woman was literally just in April. It was like 2 months ago. So it's not like you need to like dig that far back to find this stuff.
Let me ask you about, I want to switch back to the discussion on the DSA, because as you said, and even from last night we saw in Colorado, there were a bunch of, I'm not sure how many of those were actual DSA candidates, but a lot. Overall, the theme for the primaries have been that these incumbents are being like not just beaten, but like beaten like you stole something, you know, by DSA candidates. And I wouldn't say that there is a sense of panic by establishment Democrats, but in your opinion, how should establishment Democrats handle this? Because to me, and I consider myself a moderate, right? I'm like, you know, very pragmatic. I'm like, look, as long as my garbage gets picked up and, you know, and racists are not messing with my people, you know, and cops are not unidentified masked Gestapo thugs are not grabbing people off the street and throwing them into unmarked vans, I'm fine. But with that said, I'm probably closer to establishment than DSA, if I'm being honest. So, but I'm not panicked. I see it like this. I see it as, well, the people have spoken, right? What's your take on this wave of DSA success?
I mean, to be honest, well, if we look at the places that DSA is winning, obviously these are like pretty progressive like parts of the country, right? Like we're talking about New York City, we're talking about Denver, Colorado. I mean, these are like pretty progressive places overall. But I will give the credit to the DSA that, and I will like take credit away from the establishment, that establishment Democrats have not done a good job organizing in the last like decade. And I think that a lot of them just take their seats for granted. And I think like it makes it really easy for DSA to come out and win these races when, like, I mean, I can only speak to, I mean, I wasn't working on any of these like current DSA slates that ran, but I can give you like an anecdote from when I was helping AOC back in 2018. But like Crowley was not campaigning, I mean, like at all. You know, I think he sent out maybe 2 to 3 mailers. I mean, there was no type of field program at all. So I don't like when things like that happen. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it was like a very low turnout election. Only 10,000 people showed up in 2018 for that election. And AOC was able to pull people out of the like more democratic socialist areas. At the time, she took people out of like Astoria, Queens, right, which is like very like far left, young people. And yeah, I think like it just, you know, I think if the establishment like actually organized, they would win.
Well, speaking of organizing, let me ask you this. For the voters and organizers that are watching right now who want to ensure that the 2026 midterms don't, you know, fall into the hands of right-wing grifters, what is the single most important action that they can take today?
That's a great question. So there's a couple things. I think that one is that if you're in a swing district or you're in a red district, you need to look up your local Democrat that's running and you need to get behind them and support them. So even if that means like a couple hours of phone calls a week, or it means you going out and knocking doors for a couple hours a week, whatever that looks like for you. Or, I mean, maybe you can't do any of those things because you're busy and you can donate to them. That's fine. But a lot of these elections, I think people would be very surprised to understand that, especially in red areas, you don't need a lot of votes to win these seats. If you go out and you knock for a couple hours a day, you could be like the determining factor in an election. And if you're in a blue area and you're like, well, I mean, I just had a socialist win, what could I do, right? I've already done what I wanted to happen. Then you need to be going to those swing areas that are close to you and like helping them with their elections. And then I think on top of that, if you have a little bit like more money to spend, or you want to like be like more involved than just doing that, there are groups out there that are doing this work that you should like definitely support. So like I always point people in the direction of like Democracy Defenders, Mark Elias's group, who are working on making sure that our elections aren't rigged moving forward by AI. So important, because that's, I mean, as an organizer, that's like one thing that really scares me, because it's something like I can't control, right? We can go out and knock every door in the world, but we can't control if AI steals an election. So like getting behind groups like that, I think, is super important. And of course, getting behind groups like us that are going out to college campuses and going and like doing like the footwork outside of just candidate work.
I cannot possibly agree with you anymore about the Democracy Defenders thing, because especially like, you know, Donald Trump and his fascist acolytes have been like taking big swings at our democracy and trying to dismantle it brick by brick. And day in and day out, these guys at Democracy Defenders are like, they're taking the ball to the hoop. You know, they are slam dunking it every time and pushing back every freaking time. What would we do without a Mark Elias, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, because I think like the Republicans have been like working on doing this for a long time. And I think that we have been in denial as the Democrats about this. But I'm telling you, I'm like almost certain of it, that Trump is doing everything that he can right now to do it, quote unquote, the right way, in terms of like, I think he's like using like little things like birthright citizenship, for example, right? Like he's trying to like do these things to see how far he can push. And when that doesn't work, he's going to do something extreme. And we need to be ready, so that way we don't like completely lose our democracy in 2028. What's
the thing you're most worried about going into the midterms?
Oh, definitely the AI. Definitely the AI stuff. I'm also worried about just I'm worried about like our ability to get some of these like candidates in those like Jared Golden's district, for example, that like could end up going to the Republicans because he's exiting out. But I think overall, I think that we're in a really strong place, because I do think that Democrats are organizing right now, but we also just have to we always have to keep the worst case scenario in mind. Like, what happens if Donald Trump doesn't leave the White House? What happens if we have something like January 6th, but it's way like on a way bigger scale that's like not controllable, right? Like what are we going to do then? And I think like groups like Democracy Defenders are really like thinking through those things like people like the ACLU, like these groups are like actually thinking through like what that could look like.
Let me assuage some of your fears, because I have recently heard, I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, that Democrats are already like they're on it. Like they've been working on drills, contingency scenarios, and there's like, I don't know how, I'm guessing maybe 20 or 30 different contingencies. What if they have ICE at the polling stations?
Yeah.
What if they try to what if they try to hide the ballots? What if they do this? What, you know, all of these different scenarios, which I like. I like that, because that's always been my thing. I'm like, when I see things happen and Democrats get caught flat-footed, I'm like, dude, who's working there? Why don't you have somebody? Because I have a great imagination, right? I can think of, they should hire me because I can think of every worst case scenario that nobody's thinking about. Like, why isn't somebody working on this? You know? So anyway, I'm saying that to say, as long as people, as long as people continue to support organizations like Democracy Defenders and yours. I love the Unfuck America Tour and the National Ground Game. Folks, take this down. This is this right, first of all?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, unfuckamericatour.com. Make sure you support that organization. They're doing fantastic things, as you can see. Zee, if people wanted to volunteer, are you guys accepting, volunteer helpers?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So if you want to volunteer like for us on a college campus near you, we just released our fall tour date. So if you happen to live near one of those college campuses, you want to come help out, we would love that. We'll also, as we get closer to the election, we will definitely be doing things like phone banking, canvassing, all of those things. But also, if you just like if you're like the type of person where you're like, I live in this area, but I just like simply like don't know what to do, please contact me directly. I'm more than happy to like connect you to a local campaign or connect you to like a group in your area that's doing good work.
That would be that's fantastic. And anything I can do to help you guys spread the word, I'm all in. I fully support what you guys are doing. I love it. I love that you are trolling the hell out of TPUSA and DNC, DCCC. Somebody reach out to this woman and people in her organization, because they're doing fantastic, important work. And I can't thank you enough for agreeing to join me on the show today. I hope I can get you to come back at some point soon.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, like doing stuff like this is what helps us grow. So I so appreciate it.
Awesome. So do me a favor, just hang tight while I sign off, and I'll join you again real soon. And folks, thank you for joining me for another fantastic episode, if I do say so myself, of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, Majid Padellan, a.k.a. BDD, a.k.a. Brooklyn Dad Defiant. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys here, same time, same place. Oh, and have a fantastic and safe July 4th. Don't drink and drive. And if you've got a lit firecracker in your hand, get it out of your hand. So I love you all. Peace. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes.